Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? I'm Enrique, and this is Easy Pictures to Draw. This is going to be another caricature drawing video, just about different caricatures. What I'm going to talk about today, this is a conversational piece, so I'm just going to doodle for the heck of it. You know what I mean? It's kind of a background thing, but what I want to do is actually talk. That's actually the main kind of reason for this video. And I'm going to talk about what do you do about angry customers, because sometimes people worry about that. I've had questions about that. What do you do if you do a caricature of somebody and they either hate it and or get angry at you for exaggerating a certain thing or thing of that sort? So I have to warn you, if you've seen the other videos of me talking about caricatures, I might repeat some stories here. I might repeat some information. I'm just going to talk about this particular topic, the angry customer part, and maybe how to possibly mitigate or handle that, or that kind of thing. So I'm going to talk on that subject, so I might repeat a couple of things, so I apologize. First off, I've already talked about rejects, right? That was another video. You go to that video, check that out if you can. Sometimes you're doing these in the theme park and or parties, etc. And there'll be a point where somebody rejects it, right? Rejection is light, that kind of thing. Or if the customer's just straight up, kind of weird. I'll give you my thoughts on that. So I'll give you my experience on that first. My experience, and I've talked about this in the reject video. I've only gotten 12 rejects ever in the theme park, and that's that's really not that many, because I was doing like 30 a day. I mean, and I was working at least on average 3 or 4 times a week, so I was doing a bunch. So I mean, 12 is really not that big of a deal, but I remember them pretty well. I did talk about that. And of those rejects, there's some kind of soft rejects, and then there's like the hard ones where they're like, this is awful, this is terrible, blah blah blah. I would say maybe, God, I think maybe only like half of those were real, kind of rowdy, angry ones. This is junk, what are you doing working here, that kind of thing. Definitely hits your ego pretty hard, and actually hits some of the more experienced guys pretty hard, I've seen too. I guess you can definitely get a thick skin, you can laugh at it. That'd be one way to kind of do about it. Whatever they say, per se, it's not going to make you any less of what you do in art. It's not going to really make you any worse. It's just one, you had to, maybe your drawing wasn't as good. Or, honestly, normally, when I've seen other guys get rejects or angry customers next to me, it's typically just a regular drawing, and they just didn't like that style. But the person can't really communicate that, because they're normally not artists themselves, so they don't really know exactly what they don't like about it. They just don't like it, and they're like, this guy must be bad, even though it's just a different style they don't like, or if it's too exaggerated, that could be a thing. They can't laugh at themselves. And I have said this story before. I think the worst one I've ever kind of been around was we were at Comic-Con, and they were doing San Diego Comic Convention, and at a booth, I forget which booth exactly, they were doing a buddy of mine was doing caricatures, and he drew this really kind of plain, generic caricature of this woman. Wasn't anything controversial, I thought. I didn't really get it, and she got so mad she grabbed it and tore it up. You know what I mean? She was freaking out. The reaction that everybody seemed to have there was more of like laughing. They just thought it was a ridiculous scene. And even the artist, I could tell, didn't care either. I know a lot of people would care. You're kind of like picturing yourself. Maybe that's horrifying. But he honestly didn't care. It was just that was so out there. It was so cartoony. Like so weird of a circumstance that he was laughing too. Genuinely too. It wasn't just a... But, so I mean, that's an angry customer. You really can't do anything about it. It depends where you're working. I told you I hardly get anybody that's angry at, I've never got a single angry person at a party. At like one of those weddings or birthdays. I never got a single person that was mad because they're getting that thing for free, right? It's only when they pay for it they start to kind of put some value into it. Like, hey, am I gonna like this? Hey, is this gonna make fun of me? If they're afraid to get made fun of. I mean, they shouldn't. They really shouldn't get it, really, because it's kind of about that. Or you can do just a caricature thing. But I've seen people get mad at those too, which doesn't make any sense. They get mad at these cute ones. So, like I said, my experience is very limited with angry people. I've seen angry people next to me as well. One guy, actually, there was one guy that said he was gonna hit me or something like that. That was just stupid. That was just talk. It was some dad. I didn't really understand that at all. He never did. So, most people are talk. A lot of that has to do, and I'll say this. So, the reason that hardly happened to me in terms of like behavioral stuff, the reason that didn't really happen a lot is because, okay, when I'm working that first year, the first year I'm new, at least within the theme park. That was the first time I've ever really done caricatures. You're kind of at the will of the customer. You are not a seasoned vet. You are just starting. You're nervous. You're freaking out. You're like, oh my God, do you like this? And you present it all carefully, etc. And I think by my second year, I was very on all the time. I wasn't threatened anymore by the customers. I wasn't really. That's really the key, though. I wasn't really threatened anymore at all, and that came through experience. And what ended up happening was I would take control of that interaction before anything. I would take control immediately. So, and by that I'm taking control of the frame. I know you've heard that in psychology, right? You're taking control of the frame, meaning, and this is going to sound really bad, by the way, but the kind of frame that I took was, I'm providing a service. I know what I'm doing. I've done this for a while, and you're going to like it. That's kind of the way I act through this whole time. Doing the caricature, even if they reject it, like I said, sometimes they reject it, but you just act that way, like, hey, I'm a pro and this is what I'm gonna do, and you're in good hands. Boom, like, hey, let's do this. Well, you're taking control of what's going on, as opposed to the reverse, where they take control. And I've seen that a million times too. People will come in and go, draw me, blah blah blah, just kind of like this demeanor, and I would always try to turn that around if I could. Because, we're in a kid's park, it's not that hard to turn around. Like I said, more or less, like at weddings, it's a little backwards, you're kind of like, I will succumb to that because they don't really care, or they're drunk or something. But in a theme park, like, hey, I've done this, like, this is my thing. So, if you're taking control like that, you're like, by that time, hopefully within the first year, you got your little shtick, you got your conversation. You're pretty good at making conversation consistently with strangers. That's a big part of it. And I might even make a whole other video on that. I don't know, maybe if it's even necessary. But, have these things that you always ask to make the interaction a little bit entertaining for them, so they're not just sitting there for a while. What questions they have, people like talking about themselves, blah, blah, blah. So, that, I lost my point. But anyways, yeah, just take control of that interaction. And you're going to have a lot less pushback than you think. Don't be controlling. Don't be weird. But it's this thing that you will learn through experience. You will learn to take control of it. Okay, you're unfazed by weird, goofy behavior. And they'll trust you for it, and they'll be like, wow, okay, cool, I'm going with it. And so that's how I usually would mitigate people that seemed like they were going to be rowdy and weird. People will be rowdy and annoying if you let them, anywho, that's just my opinion on that. Like, on angry customers, on weird customers, on rowdy customers. You know what I mean? That will, kind of, like I said, slow it down. If they want to make like an outburst, they won't do that. That's just my opinion. That's it from working there for about 4 or 5 years at a theme park, at a public place. Like I said, this mostly applies to a theme park kind of thing, or You know, I guess it could technically apply to parties. You know, but like I said, I don't really push too hard at parties because they're paying me a good amount, where I can just like, okay, I'll chill. Um, yeah, and also, oh, same thing with kids. I mean, kids is like, I didn't really, I don't know. It's kind of annoying when kids are all like in your space. You know, you kind of like have to. I've elbowed a kid really hard one time. You know, that was kind of bad, but it was very instinctive. You know, and I said sorry, and so, anyways, that's kind of it. If you have any other questions on the subject of caricaturing, let me know. A caricature experience on doing caricature jobs, that kind of thing. Shoot me a message and I'll put another one out. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll talk to you next time.